I never know how to start these videos because this is the monthly Meeple, and it's just not me on duty. It's all of us. Hello and welcome to Assorted Meeples. I'm Philip, and today is the monthly Meeple, but first I need to start out with a quick shout out to Madclaw, Trident, Dragonite, Tribbles, Fuzzybox, Kronos, and Beelzebuddy. Thank you guys for your continued support, and this is just one little way to give back to you guys, so thank you very much. That being said, let's dive right into it. This month, a bit of news that just caught my attention is that the Tokaido brand was bought by Stonemaier Games from FunForge to ensure its health and continuation, I'm pretty sure. FunForge had some issues, I do believe, with the fulfillment of the second one of, it's like Nanjing? I cannot remember it off the top of my head. But it took a long time, and I think they had some problems, and they have sold the Tokaido brand to there. And I think it's a good move. I think that is a good company that they are bringing another great game into the sleeve. And it's not like Awaken Realms, who is trying to just buy good classic games and bling them out for extra cash. No, that this is, they've already stated like they're starting their print run with Stonemaier on the name of the box, and the only thing that's really changing in there is a solo variant so you can play it by yourself, which I'm very interested in. This month has been a little interesting. Brain put out a couple of videos right here at the tail end of September into the very first part of October about the Magic community changing and being rather angry about those changes. So you can check out those videos. I'll put a link down in the description. But let's kick it over to the business end and check out what's going on in his corner.
Thanks, Phil. Not a whole lot on my front to report on this month. It's actually been kind of a quiet month, which after several months of working on the set and getting lights and sound and everything kind of dialed in, I kind of welcome having a month that's a little lighter. As far as gaming, the big video game I've really been playing has been Balatro in my off time away from stream. I just finished unlocking the last deck finally. Those higher difficulty tiers are no joke, especially if you don't get the right jokers to get started. Highly recommend if you haven't checked it out. It's a fun way to kind of unwind for an hour and relax. As far as Twitch streams in October, we are entering spooky season, so I am looking forward to playing some remakes of Castlevania games styled after the NES Castlevania trilogy. I'm really excited to check these out. I haven't played them before. I haven't watched any gameplay footage. So I'm looking forward to hanging out with everyone so that we can all kind of experience them for the first time together. You can get my reactions on whether they're better or worse than the originals. Beyond that, I finished putting together my rough draft of my new commander deck for Bello, Bard of the Brambles. I mean, Bloomborough had raccoons. How could I not build a commander deck with a raccoon at the helm? I'm very excited to try it out. I'm taking it in a different direction than many people have. I'll make sure to get a list over to our editors so that you can check it out in the description below. But I'm super excited to get it assembled and play it. I'm hoping to be able to do that week and a half, maybe a little longer, depending on how long it takes for all my packages to get here. But that pretty well covers it for me this month. Not a whole lot going on, which, again, I needed a month to kind of relax a little bit. I am still working on some stuff in the background that I hope to be able to report more on as we get closer to the end of the year, but we're not quite at that point yet. Back to you, Phil.
Thank you, Braden. That is really wonderful. This month, I do have to say something. Shane gets a pass. He had a bit of a rough month, and so he gets a pass. Callahan, on the other hand, is just an old grumpy bugger who, okay, he kind of gets a pass too. He changed jobs, and that gets a little wonky for getting settled into a routine. Especially the older you get, the more set you get in your way of life. And when that gets disrupted, all hell breaks loose. So we'll get him back to bed. We'll get him his bedpan. And maybe next month he'll have something for us. And what have I been up to this month in the world of gaming? I was given a set of legs from work, table legs, to be specific. That's the only, well, I would take most meat animal legs as well, but I was given a set of table legs, and I realized I have a perfect tabletop to attach them to, but I haven't reached out to Callahan yet to kind of talk about what I should do. I have ideas, but the getting there is the challenge of my life. So right now I'm kind of I have the idea, I need to get it put together and finished. I've been too swamped otherwise. Another thing that I've done in this past month is I started developing a solo deck to play Dice Throne with. Now I printed off and I played kind of the solo variant, which is very similar to the variant in the Dice Throne Adventures for the boss battle. This solo, when I played that, I was not really impressed with how it didn't feel like Dice Throne. It felt like you were either taking damage or you weren't rolling for your opponent. It didn't feel like you were playing your opponent. It felt like a ticking time bomb. And that wasn't what I wanted in a solo deck. So I kind of went out and I started building my own deck. Now, this is a very good rough draft, but it's not finished yet, and I need to go back and I need to, one, reprint it so it looks prettier, two, get it out there for other people to try. And I made 40 cards in my first deck. Look at me throw things. And that's just way too many cards. So I'm going to slim it down. If I can get reasonably down to 20 cards, I think that would be a good deck size. Or 24 cards would be a good deck size. And would be pretty easy to print out and produce on your own. That being said, those two things took up a lot of my time. Let's jump over and see about Nate and see what he's been up to.
Hello. This month, I heard Free League Publishing is releasing the Electric State RPG, a tabletop role-playing game based on the art book The Electric State by Simon Stollenhag. It's set in an alternate late 90s America, covered in the decaying war machines, rotting mechanized mascots, and utter devastation left behind in the wake of an ever-expanding digital hive mind. The apocalypse is closing in, but it's a slow one. It uses a D6 dice pool variant of a system called the Year Zero engine, where your skills determine how many dice you roll, and your attributes act as modifiers. Zone-based combat, fully randomized initiative, and a wide array of possible skills and specialties, along with a delightfully detailed chart for both mental and physical critical damage, all drew my attention. I haven't gotten my hands on the book itself, but I just might. It looks like an interesting one. That's the only TTRPG news that really caught my eye this month. There's probably more, but I admit I was a bit distracted by the absolutely massive amount of video game news seemingly catered specifically to me. Helldivers 2 put out a massive buff to tons of weapons and undid a nerf to their flamethrowers, fixes for various UI and menu bugs, a rework of all enemy armor, and stratagem buffs rounded it out well. Good show all around. Opened up a whole bunch of playstyles that were just bad before. Everyone seems pretty happy with it, myself included. Crab Champions also put out a huge update, adding new maps, new weapons, new enemies, a bunch of new perks, and reworking everything from enemy behavior to the perks on the weapons. Crusader Kings 3 has a new DLC out, one that people have been wanting for a while that lets you wander as a landless noble. If you know how CK3 DLC usually goes, the fact that its rating on Steam is very positive is pretty unusual. And it really speaks to the quality of it, and the huge amount of side content that got added. I'd like to be able to talk about if and how it's good from my own experience, but it's a DLC pack that costs $30. But they put out a free update adding some depth to dynasties, a reworked scheme system, and a new co-monarchy government type, which does seem pretty interesting. Warhammer 40k is also doing well, with Space Marine 2 both coming out and almost immediately getting an update it needed, allowing for private PvE games rather than universal open matchmaking as it had been previously. They also added a PvP training area, made some improvements to your bot companions, and reworked a number of enemies and weapons. Good update, glad to see they're listening to feedback. In addition to Space Marine 2, they also have Dark Tide, that put out a much-anticipated rework of their inventory system. Completely changed how that worked. In my opinion, for the better, in addition to a number of general reworks that made some strategies and weapons viable when they weren't before. There's a new progression system for weapons, which is a bit of a grind, but adds a lot of options for customizing and tuning them for exactly what you need. And they added a new map where you have to stop a speeding train. It's a lot of fun. Well, that's all that I've got. Back to you, Phil.
Those systems sound really interesting and really fun to play. I think we should really look at a hard time that me and you can get together and do a campaign, because one, I don't have time at night, but I have time in the day, and two, I think your level of bullshit and my level of stupidity would play very well together in front of a camera. The last thing that I have really been up to this month and is pretty exciting is we were given a prototype sitting right behind me here. You can see the box and spread out on my table for the Ivy Studios game Tend. And this is a fun game. This feels a lot like Stardew Valley on the tabletop. And I have played the Stardew Valley board game, which it's really fun, but it is merciless and unforgiving. This game is in that same vein, but it does some really fun stuff, and I look forward to giving more information when it gets closer to launch date, which is the October 29th. We also have the prototype in the house for a 2-player game called Starline Hill. It was Starfarer, but they ran into some naming rights issues with Starfarers of Catan. Totally understand, but that is coming out October 22nd, and me and Heather we'll have at least a Table for 2 episode coming up, if not more coverage of it, because I think this is one, if you play a lot of 2-player games, you're going to want to check out. So, thank you guys very much. Leave a comment down below if there's any games that you play that we should check out this month. There anything that you would like to see from us, and we will see you guys next time. All right. Bye.